Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I was about to say good morning. My name is Brian Van Hook with SBDC at FIU and also the Apex Accelerator Program. We'll give it a minute for everybody to join in. And then I'll mention it again, or we'll mention it a few times. We would ask that you put in the chat, who are you? What's your business? Because we want to know who you are. We want this to be interactive. If you do have a question, please put the question in the Q&A because we might be able to answer it like kind of in real time. But also we can get to it towards the end if we don't answer it during the webinar. Hi, Tanya. You're the first. I feel like we should give you like a prize for being the first in the chat. Okay, and hello everybody. For you guys that are just joining, we will start in another minute or two. My name is Brian Van Hook with SBDC at FIU and also the Apex Accelerator Program. Thank you for joining us for this webinar that's focused on the SBIR, STTR grants from the federal government. And we'll give it another minute and then we'll join. Just would encourage you, let us know in the chat who you are, like your name and your business name. If you do have any questions, please use the Q&A because we will be able to respond to it during the chat, or we'll get to it towards the end. Okay, guys, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Brian Van Hook. I'm the Regional Director of the Small Business Development Center under FIU's College of Business. I also am oversee our local Apex Accelerator program here in Miami-Dade and the Keys. I just want to thank you for joining us for this webinar that's focused on the SBIR, STTR programs. We have a really great presentation. We have some really great panelists that's going to be joining us. Before I get started, we do have one of our really great colleagues from the local SBA district office in South Florida. So I would turn it over to Eileen if she wants to make any remarks on any upcoming programs or anything from the local district office.
Thank you so much, Brian. Good afternoon, all. Eileen Fernandez with the Small Business Administration. I'm with the South Florida District Office, as Brian had mentioned. I've been with the SBA for a little bit over 4 years and worn a couple of different hats, whether it's been access to capital from the PPP and EIDL, and now currently as a business opportunity specialist with the SBA. And so I just really quickly wanted to share with you guys that we are currently accepting applications for the Thrive program. The Thrive program is a program that is basically the NBA of SBA. It is a free program. There are 3 small requirements. You need to have one other employee other than yourself, at least $250,000 in revenue, and then be in business at least 3 years. So we're currently accepting applications. We will have 3 cohorts in South Florida. It will be in Miami-Dade, in Broward, and in Tampa. So I wanted to invite you all to apply, and you can do so at www.sbathrive.com. And I'll put my contact information and that information also on the chat. So you guys have that, and just grateful to be here with you guys today. And thank you so much, Brian, for allowing me to join you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. We're always happy to work with the local district office from the SBA. You guys work hard. You're always out in the community. And just like us, you're trying to share really good information. So just thanks for that. And we'll look for that in the chat. With that, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. I do want to recognize our 2 in addition to the SBA, our 2 distinguished panelists. We do have Ricardo Weiss from SBDC at FIU and also Luis Batista from the Apex Accelerator Program, who are 2 of our really great consulting team. They both have experience with not just related to federal programs and federal technology and local technology and things like that, but they also have expertise with the SBIR STTR program. So I'm just happy to have them here to provide some additional background and information. So with that, we'll get to it. So who is this guy talking to you? What do I know about these programs? I'm originally from Louisiana. I have almost 20 years of working with the federal government, both as an employee and also as a federal resource partner. In my previous life, I had the great opportunity to work in the United States Senate on the Senate Small Business Committee and also at the Office of Technology Policy at the Department of Commerce. When I did work on the Small Business Committee, we specifically did work on the SBIR, STTR programs, FAST programs that we're going to talk about a little bit later. And so I do have a lot of experience with the program, how businesses can access it, how the different agencies utilize it, and also was able to work on the reauthorization of the SBIR STTR programs in 2011, where a lot of the changes that we'll talk about were made. So I'm just really happy to bring that experience to you guys and kind of give you some real good information when you're looking into these particular programs. A little bit about the Apex Accelerator. The Apex Accelerator was formerly known as the PTAC program. It was established by Congress in 1986. There's almost 100 Apex Accelerators across the country. We're really proud to be your Apex Accelerator that's in Miami-Dade and the Florida Keys. It's under the Department of Defense and under the Office of Small Business Programs there. And it's focused on contracting and technology opportunities. Here in Florida, we're organized under the Florida Apex Accelerator. Again, that's with the cooperative agreement with DoD. And that's focused on consulting, training, and information to help local small businesses to bid on government contracts, whether that's DoD or other federal, state, or local agencies. And then also there is an added priority, which is why we're talking to you about the SBIR STTR programs, is that they want to connect local businesses like you to some of these government-led innovation programs. So there is kind of like a twofold purpose for the Apex program. And then the Apex Accelerator, just the exact stuff we can help you with, is helping you complete registration with databases such as SAM, Demand Star. We can identify agencies and offices that you need to connect with and help you to kind of demystify who do you need to talk to, what can you say to them. We can determine whether you're ready to go for government opportunities, how you can position yourselves to succeed. And then most important, like we talked about in some other trainings that we've done recently, is networking with contracting officers, program managers, prime contractors, those type of things. So we can really help you in those particular areas as well. What are we going to talk about in this webinar? So we're going to review SBIR, STTR programs, give you really like a lot of the background information on the programs and what to look for. We're going to discuss the applications and common factors that you should consider before jumping in. And then at the end, we're also going to talk about key resources and programs that you should pay attention to if you're exploring these different programs. So just a little bit of background on the SBIR program. Originally, it started under the National Science Foundation, NSF, in the 1970s, and it was just one agency. They kind of did it on their own. And they had a lot of really big successes with that particular program related to small businesses, science, and technology. There was some research that really groundbreaking research that was done on cystic fibrosis. They also had a big company that launched because of that was Symantec that everybody knows. So they had a lot of really big wins under NSF with this type of program. So in 1979, the Small Business Administration, the SBA, recommended to Congress that they create like a government-wide program. And the government-wide program was focused on agencies that have $100 million or more in research. And the legislation was signed by President Reagan in 1982 to create those programs. And then just if you want to talk about numbers and outcomes, the SBIR program has resulted in over 70,000 patents, 700 public companies, and $41 billion in venture capital investments. These are some of the examples. A lot of you guys know like 23andMe, you know iRobot, you know like the electric toothbrushes, Qualcomm, obviously. So there's a lot of really big successes from the program that kind of started, you know, from like really small companies and really small grants. The goals of the program is to really address federal research and development issues, to provide those innovative solutions for a problem from the government that a small business can offer because small businesses are more nimble. They want to obviously stimulate technological innovation. They want to help to commercialize research and development that's coming from the federal side, also from universities. And like the last bullet says, STTR is focused on tech transfer through those research and development cooperations with small businesses and research institutions. The reason why there's an STTR program is when they were creating the SBIR program, a lot of the big research universities were not happy about that because that was taking like kind of food off their table or funds out of their universities. So there was kind of a push for more of a collaboration between universities and more of a coordination. So that's why there was the STTR program created, which does kind of like by the program require a small business to cooperate with a research institution. But for both SBIR and STTR, the applicant is the small business. So SBIR, there is no requirement to work with a university or like a research institution. For STTR, there is a requirement. And we'll get into that a little bit later about some of the differences. And then for the SBIR, STTR programs, there is 11 agencies that are participating. I do include the SBA because the SBA oversees the programs, provides reports, kind of helps share information like the SBA is doing today. So I do include the SBA as a participating agency, but there is no research that's happening under SBA for your business access. They're more of like a kind of a coordinator, facilitator. But you see up there, it goes everything from Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce, DOD, like we talked about, National Science Foundation, NASA, EPA, Homeland Security, Department of Transportation. So a lot of really great agencies are participating in this. And there is 11 agencies overall that are in SBIR. And then there is 5 of those agencies that participate in the STTR program. And then, like I said, for the SBA, they're kind of like the coordinator. So they direct the implementation of the program, they review progress, they report to Congress on how it's going. And they also do support kind of building out the ecosystems. And then we'll talk a little bit later about the FAST program, the Federal and State Technology Program. But that's a program that is that is focused on helping to grow the local support ecosystem, specifically around SBIR, STTR. So in terms of the funding that's available, for SBIR, it's the percentage is about 3.2% of the extramural research budget for those agencies that have $100 million or more. So in terms of an average spend, it's about 3.2 billion per year. For STTR, it's a smaller percentage, and it's for those agencies that have a research budget greater than 1 billion per year. So that's about 450 million per year. On average, they get about 5,000 new awards a year. We will talk a little bit later too, because some agencies have multiple application windows to apply. Some agencies only do it once a year. So it just depends on the agency and kind of how they run their program. And then this slide just shows you kind of the breakdown by agencies. We also will talk about kind of grants versus contracts because there is a separation between how some agencies run their programs, but it shows you basically the split. Obviously, DOD has the biggest pot of it. HHS is probably next, and then it kind of goes down from there. And then, so I've thrown a lot of acronyms at you, like SBIR, STTR, DOD, R&D. But the SBIR program stands for Small Business Innovation Research. And just like we talked about, it wants to connect technology-focused entrepreneurs with the federal research and development programs. Small businesses can leverage these programs either through a grant or a contract to develop that innovative technology with a commercial valuability. And as Ricardo always keeps me on point, the funding is non-dilutive. And then you will retain full rights to any IP that's developed under the program. So that's an upside for that particular program. STTR, or the Small Business Technology Transfer Program, was founded in 1992. So you basically have SBIR that was in 1982, and then you have about 10 years later, STTR was founded. And that basically does, like we said, have those cooperative R&D projects between a small business and a research institution. What it wants to do is it wants to bridge the gap between research that's happening and a commercial application. So they do have a subcontract between the small business and the research institution. And then, like we said, there's 5 of those federal agencies that have STTR programs: DoD, Department of Energy, Health and Human Services, NASA, and the National Science Foundation. And then one thing I would mention is just manage your expectations. This is a really great opportunity. It's a great program, but I don't want to oversell and underdeliver. For SBIR, basically, phase 1 grants have about an 18 to 20% success rate. For phase 2 grants, that's about 40% success rate. So they do have better success rates than you would with venture capital, which I think is probably less than 1% last time I saw. But I do want to manage your expectations that you need to be prepared to possibly submit like multiple rounds of applications, get feedback, kind of like update your proposal and resubmit it. It's not necessarily something where you'll get it like the first shot. Also, we will talk about how long it usually takes to, once you submit an application, to be notified that you get an award. So there is a little bit of time involved. It's not something that's a quick thing, but I do want to manage your expectations on that. And then for a lot of businesses, you're looking at SBAR and you're kind of looking at it more of like a purchasing aspect. But I just want to reiterate, for SBAR, it's not focused on purchasing or commercializing equipment or services that have already been developed. If you are looking to go that route, that's where you would look at federal contracting. In that case, where they can kind of purchase something that you've already got and utilize that for the agency. So you do want to really focus on something that's an innovative technology, something that you can utilize for research and development on it, not necessarily something that you want an agency to buy from your business. And then also they really stress that the focus is not on like a low risk technology that just needs capital to grow. They really do want to see something that might be high risk and really, but could have like a big upside to it. So if a lot of the things we talked about, like cystic fibrosis, mapping the human genome, I did see that, like, for example, in North Dakota, I think there was something where a company was utilizing fungi from one of the geysers to create astronaut food, like try to grow like kind of vegetarian astronaut food. So there are like really innovative things that are more high risk that probably need some capital to develop, but there is a clear connection between that innovative technology and a solution for the federal government. And then the one thing I would stress, like we mentioned, is SBIR, STTR funds on their own cannot be used for commercialization, but a number of agencies do have a CAP, like a commercial assistance program, and CAPs can be available for phase 1 or phase 2 awardees. And they, in those cases, they do have like an independent consultant that works with the agency that can help you on commercialization. So I do want to like kind of give you those caveats, you know, at the outset, so that you're aware of like what's going on. And then a lot of companies are wondering about their eligibility. So for phase 1 and phase 2, when you're applying, you need to be organized for profit. You can't have more than 500 employees, including affiliates. You also need to be US owned and operated. So those are kind of like the core eligibility requirements, like across the board. I would mention too, it gets a little more technical when you get in that, but if you do have any kind of venture capital funding, there are particular like rules, like it mentions about affiliates, where you do need to do a little more math and a little more kind of calculations. Because traditionally for SBAR and STTR, they did not allow companies that had venture capital to participate in the program. That was changed, I believe, around 2011 when we did the reauthorization, where they did open it up. So there are some agencies where I don't think it's allowed if you do have venture capital, but there are other agencies where you are. But that does need to be factored into your calculation on eligibility. So I would encourage you, a lot of the websites I'm going to give you later, they do have like a really good kind of like spreadsheet or like calculation sheet where you can kind of go through some of those things to figure it out. And then for STTR, the research institution has to meet some criteria as well. Like they have to be located in the US It has to either be like a nonprofit college or university, has to be a domestic nonprofit research organization, or it needs to have like a federally funded R&D center. So it needs to like basically be located in the US and then meet one of those particular criteria at the bottom. And then I did throw out to you about the phased programs for SBIR and STTR. For phase one is where you're basically doing like kind of proof of concept. So you're developing the concept. It could be anywhere from like 6 months to a year. The grant amounts for those could be $50,000 to $250,000. For phase two, that's where you get into prototype development. That's related to 24 months, like a 2-year project. That could be anywhere from 500,000 to $1.5 million dollars in funds. Phase three, there is no phase three for SBIR. There is a phase three for STTR, and that is focused on commercialization. And then I did break it down because it wasn't kind of broken down for some of the other materials I'd seen before. But again, like phase one is proof of concept, demonstrate the technical merit, the feasibility, commercial potential of that product or service. Phase two is focused on technology development. So you want to get continued R&D funding based on what you did in phase one. You are going to highlight the technical merit and the potential applications in the proposal for phase two. So you're going to want to show you have some traction. And then phase three is commercialization. Like we said, that's for STTR. That's where procurement agencies might, basically you might sell your product or service to the agency as a customer, or if it's a granting agency, that might involve like selling to private sector customers. So it is kind of like split up based on how that agency structures, whether it's a grant or a contract. And then these are really good differences between SBIR and STTR. For SBIR, it does permit partnering with a research institution, but it doesn't require it. STTR does require it, that you partner with that research institution. For a principal investigator, that's a lead kind of person for the project. And Ricardo, did you want to share real quick? I know you've done a lot of work on the PIs. Did you want to share the background on the PIs since I'm bringing it up?
Sorry, I was responding to a couple of the questions. Yeah, so the PI, which is the principal investigator, it typically has to be a recognized researcher with a deep-rooted knowledge in the area of expertise. And that means that it's probably someone that has published papers in the field. So it has to be a recognized talent unless they're already affiliated with a research institute like a university.
No, thank you, Ricardo. And then there is a work requirement that you can subcontract up for phase one up to 33% of the work. For phase two under SBIR, you can subcontract up to 50%. For STTR, there is more allowance for subcontracting. So the small business has 40% and the research partner has 30%. So for some businesses, STTR might be more attractive because they can subcontract more of the work that they're doing. But those are some considerations you want to factor in. As we mentioned, the program size about SBIR is larger, STTR is a little smaller. We did talk about the VC ownership, where some agencies do allow VC-backed firms to participate. For STTR, it's not allowed for that particular program. And then we talked about for the agencies, there's 11 agencies under SBIR, and then for STTR, there's 5 agencies that participate. And then I did mention kind of when we were discussing it that some agencies do contracts and some agencies do grants. So I did provide you guys with the breakdown for who the granting agencies are, and also who the contracting officers agencies are. So the contracting is DOD, DHS, NASA, EPA, Department of Transportation, and Department of Education. For the granting agencies where you'll get a grant, that's NSF, which we mentioned has been a longstanding participant in the program going back to the 70s. Department of Energy, USDA, Department of Commerce has NIST, the National Institute for Standards and Technology. That's a really cool agency that does a lot of research into different like buildings and things like that. And then NOAA. So obviously everybody knows NOAA from hurricane research and climate research and things like that. And then HHS kind of has their foot in both sides. So they do contracting and granting, but it's mostly grants.
Brian, we got a
Yep.
question on the Q&A that I think it's relevant here. Are you going to talk on how to find a research partner? Or this is more on the consulting side?
I had a little trouble hearing you, Leo. What was the question?
Is this presentation going to touch how to find a research partner, or it's better to go to a consult, do consulting with an Apex consultant?
Okay. Ricardo, did you want to, since that came up, did you want to mention about that?
So in our case, we will try to match you with a researcher in from the FIU faculty if there is a researcher that has interest in participating in the project. Bear in mind that it requires a commitment by that faculty researcher in terms of time and effort to meet SBIR compliance. So however, you can also tap into the faculty of other universities that may have stronger programs in certain areas that you're interested in researching.
Yeah, I would say that we obviously we're at FIU, so we do have some awareness about FIU research. We're not territorial, so if we could connect you to another university, we would, or another researcher. For us, I would encourage you if you're interested in researchers. We are going to talk a little bit later because there are a couple of I-Corps programs that are under like here in Florida and under different institutions. And that's actually a good way to find potential researchers because you can get connected with the different research departments of different universities that run those I-Corps programs under NSF. But there are a couple of other resources that are statewide that we can also connect you to, whether that's FAST, the FAST program, Defense Works, some of those other ones. So I will talk to you about some of those resources at the end. So Ricardo had a great point on that, but I'm happy we could address that because I know that's a common question that comes up. And then now we're going to go over just like the common application questions, like where people get stuck, things you should factor in when you're looking into the program. And Ricardo, before we get into this, I also do want to mention, you and I have talked a lot about it, where these applications are highly technical. These are highly technical applications that you're going to be submitting on your particular product, on the research, on your team, and things like that, for the SBDC at FIU and also the Apex Accelerator, where that's not something where it's like a drop-off service that we will write the application for you. We definitely have a lot of resources and we can help you and we can give you technical assistance. But I know that that is a challenge for businesses because they don't necessarily have the expertise or the bandwidth to write the SBIR, STTR application. I would say there are companies out there that this is like their bread and butter. This is what they do is they do charge a fee to write applications for businesses. So those are kind of readily available. I know there's a number of them in Florida. And if you are partnering with a research institution, there might also be opportunities for them to give you some support in that respect. The applicant is the small business, but you are partnering with a research institution. So there might be some additional support that you can get in that respect. But I really would encourage you at the end, I'm going to talk to you about the SBIR.gov website and some of the agency websites. I would not tell you to go to those websites and that they were good if they were not. I just full disclosure, if they were not good, I wouldn't say anything. I'd be silent. I have reviewed those websites like extensively in the last year or so, and I would say they're a lot better from when I had previously used to go on them and try to look up information for small businesses. They have great tutorials. They have pitch decks, reverse pitch decks, like step-by-step processes. A lot of different things that you can look at. So I would encourage you for the SBIR.gov website, also for the individual agency websites. They're like really good. They have a lot of the information that is a lot of stuff you can do on your own. But if you're not able to do it or you don't want to do it, I do want to say there are companies out there that you can pay to help you with the application. So I did want to address that. And Ricardo, anything else on that?
And just lately, I've been noticing that the Reddit also has a forum that is very strong in helping first timers get support.
Mhm.
So
That's great. So I just was gonna kind of give you like a rundown on kind of a checklist or what to look for the pre-application process. You're gonna want to have an idea. So you're gonna want to have an innovative research idea. You're gonna want to determine your eligibility, and then you're gonna want to complete the necessary registrations. So I'm gonna assume that you've already gone through the eligibility checklist. I'm assume that you've already gone through like have an innovative idea. A key step is that you need to register on sam.gov. It's basically a two-step process. They have changed it like in the last 2 years. You will apply for sam.gov, and that is something that the Apex Accelerator team can help you. We also have SBDC consultants that can help you as well. If you're having trouble with the SAM registration, you'll get that UEI, and then you'll apply, and then you'll basically get a cage code, which is the cage code is kind of like your official federal vendor number. So you will need to register on sam.gov. And Louis, anything on the sam.gov registration or anything I should mention?
Yeah, oddly enough, for the SBIR, you may not need to register with SAM, but
Mhm.
it's highly recommended.
Mhm.
I mean, it's ridiculous that you don't have to, really.
Yeah. And then I will get into it in a minute, that each agency has their own portals and their own things, and there's some stuff on grants.gov that you can search for. So I will kind of go through some of those steps, but I did want to mention it because I know, Louis, it's not like essential, but it is like a big step. Also, if you're going to go for federal contracts, then you probably would, if you want to do both of them.
We're talking specifically about SBIR for
Mhm.
grants, for almost anything else you want to do, certifications, receive notices. Yeah, SAM is the absolute first step. There's no question about that.
Definitely. Thanks, Louis. And then the next step that you're going to want to do is that there is an SBIR company registration. I would note that this does have like an eligibility component to it. So you will be able to you can do the eligibility check on your own, but you will also do this when you're putting it in. And the reason why I mentioned about SAM, Louis, was because on this, you do add your UEI. So for me, that I've seen it elsewhere that they say go to sam.gov and register. And then I know for this particular thing, which is required, you do have to add a UEI, and the only way you get that is from doing sam.gov.
You see, that's why Brian is the boss.
Mhm.
He
Well,
keeps up with the
I
latest.
learned
Yeah.
well from you, Louis. I learned well from you.
Thank you.
So
Stand corrected.
so that is that SBIR company registration, and I did provide you with the link up here. And for this is a 5-step process. You're going to check your eligibility. You're going to add your UEI that you would get from SAN.gov plus your email address. You're going to provide your owner info, put in your company contacts, and then you're going to basically get a login and a password when you complete it. And if you go to any of the agency websites, like I did review all of them, and I did pay attention specifically to NSF and DoD because those are the ones that are most comprehensive, and also HHS. But for those, basically, it did each one of them was pretty consistent about go to SAM, go to the SBIR company registration, and then obviously they direct you to their website for the third step. You can also go to grants.gov. For grants.gov, you can search like agency-wide. It'll search like multiple agencies. So you can look up for grants.gov and get an account. It might also be good for your business to be on there as well. So I am throwing in grants.gov too. And then, like we said, there are agency-specific portals once you know which agency you're going for. And for most of those, that's where you're actually going to submit your proposal to them. So an example, like I said, was the DoD innovation portal, or the National Institute of Health. They have a seed portal that is focused on these type of programs. And then when you're looking for SBIR, STTR, you want to look at that particular agency, and you want to look at kind of how can you solve their problem, or what type of research or what type of innovation are they looking for? The good thing about these agencies is that they list all their past awardees, and they also put up like, hey, we're looking for this. These are the areas we're looking for. They also put up their eligibility requirements. So all this stuff is really, really helpful, is publicly available, is there for you to look up. And for a lot of the agencies, like I said, they'll do it usually once a year, or they might do it multiple times a year. So the website is going to be open. They're going to have all that information, even if the application is not currently open. So that is stuff that you can kind of get a head start. And again, I do want to really, really encourage you guys, look up the reverse pitch videos, look up the one pagers from the agencies. They'll have a pitch deck that's available. They'll break down like the different awards by geography, by industry, by agency, things like that. The best place to get that is on the SBIR.gov website. And it actually shows a lot of stuff that is relative to like what you're looking for. So for example, a vast majority of the SBIR, STTR awards go to a couple of states. So if you look up here, basically it is kind of like Washington, D.C., it's Massachusetts, it's California. So these are all like kind of the same states that get it. You will see New York is there. You will see basically Texas is there. But you'll notice like towards the front, Florida, not a lot of SBI or STTR. That is why programs like the FAST program are really big in states like Florida, because the whole idea of that is to raise awareness on these particular grants, this type of research, and get more applications in. The more applications you have, then the more, the awards you're going to get. And so that is something from our center. We would like to see more businesses applying from Miami, from the Florida Keys, and being aware of the programs, because this is opportunities for small businesses to really solve some of these government problems. Also, you see from the award summary by agency, you can see obviously it's Department of Defense, it's HHS, it's Department of Energy, and then it kind of gets into some of the smaller ones. This is all like graphs and dashboards and things that you can see on the SBIR.gov website, so it's really good actionable information. Like we said, you want to basically look at when is the proposal due, what are the solicitation requirements. Some agencies do have multiple solicitations. I think I saw NSF has like 2 or 3 rounds that they put out per year. But you really want to focus on what is your innovative technology, and does your company comply with the requirements that they're putting out? Also, as we talk about with anything for government contracting, does your company meet the organizational, the personnel, the resource requirements to successfully execute on the proposal? Because that is going to be factored in when you submit the application. They are going to look at kind of like what you can do. Can you do what you say you're going to do? And then heavy focus in these particular applications on the product development side and on the commercialization plan for your proposal. Obviously, it's really heavy when you get into like phase 2, phase 3, but you really need to factor that in, because the whole idea is to take a really innovative idea, develop proof of concept, move the technology development forward, and then commercialize it and get it out. And I showed you a lot of the examples. The best examples are some of those like 23andMe, research on cystic fibrosis, human genome, a lot of the technology companies like Symantec and Qualcomm. Those are like really good aspects where they really want to move things forward with the technology. And then for your proposals, you really want to take advantage of that they're going to be in webinars like this. There's going to be webinars, there's going to be information sessions. You really want to get access to those program managers. So what you want to look at is, what is the current solicitation? What is the request for proposals? Look at that. Look at who is the program manager. They are going to be present in those information sessions and webinars. So the other thing you want to do, look at the particular agency. You want to know, do they review that internally? Do they put that out for external review? We are going to talk about that in the next slide, but you want to know who's looking at it. Is it somebody internal to the agency, or is it like a panel of experts that are from the scientific community? You really want to know who you're going to be submitting this proposal to. Don't make the mistake. Don't not read the solicitation. You really want to pay attention to any type of application that you're submitting for like a grant or a contract, is look at the scoring. What are the review criteria? You want to make sure that your application is going to maximize the points in the scoring. I kind of practice what we preach, because for us, we submitted grant applications before. And you really need to look at how do they rank things. You need to spend more of your time when the application on the things that rank highest, and then also work your way down towards the things that rank that score lower. You still need to do the best that you can, but you can really run up the total on some of the things that they're really going to prioritize versus some other things that might not be as big of a priority. And then a lot of businesses kind of do the one and done, where they'll submit it, they're not successful. They don't know that they can resubmit the application. So there are some opportunities with agencies where you can address like the reviewer concerns and you can improve your score, or you can kind of do some work in the meantime. Maybe you could beef up your team, you could work on your operations, you could work on your finances. Maybe you could like revise your proposal related to your technology. You can always resubmit it. The good thing is you have time to do it. But there are some agencies where you can take that proposal that was declined. You can address the reviewer concerns, and maybe you can resubmit it. So that's the kind of stuff you want to look at for that particular agency. Like I said previously, you want to look at the agency. Do they review it internally from like government employees? Do they put it out for peer review or external reviewers? Internal review agencies include like DoD and DHS, National Institute of Health, National Science Foundation. Traditionally, they use those external review panels. So that will be factored into when you're submitting the application, because you do know you need to be highly technical on the proposal. You want to basically also factor in, does your proposal address what they're asking? So did they put out a particular topic area? Like, how are you going to address that particular problem? And like Ricardo talked about principal investigators. They really need to be like the star of your proposal. They really need to bring a lot to the table along with your team in terms of your particular application. They want to see the skills, the background, the research, the education of the PI, of your team, because they really want to know that they're going to give this to your team and you're really going to be able to develop it and execute. And then, like I said, a through line through the proposals is there going to be that potential to commercialize? It's not just going to be something that sits on a shelf or like they dump a lot of money into and doesn't go anywhere. I would say that is very important, because I do know an example of a company from another state that did get an SBIR, and it was a very, very high profile SBIR award. They were based at a research institution, and they employed a lot of folks. They basically had a huge company. They staffed up after they did the research. It was a phase 1. They weren't able to basically commercialize the technology. What ended up happening was they got a phase. I know they got a phase 1. I don't think they got a phase 2, but they weren't able to like move it forward and commercialize and really like get it out into the market, even though they were working with a really good research institution. And eventually the company did have to close. And it was something where a lot of local groups in the research institution were trying to keep the company open and keep them going, because they did know that there was potential to their technology, but they just weren't able to like kind of make it the next step on it. So I would mention that, because that is something that these reviewers and these program managers do want to see. They don't want to see that it's just a really great idea, but there's no potential to commercialize. And then the one thing we talked about previously was the SBA's role, that the SBA does does provide like information on the agencies and how they're doing. So you can look at those annual reports to understand what's the timing of the award decisions, what's the notifications. They do break it down by agency. For some of the agencies, the notice of award is like statutory required within 90 days of the submission. For some other agencies, it could take up to a year to announce the awards. So you really do want to do your research on that. So we do want to mention, for like at least managing expectations, you would want to expect at minimum a 3 to 6 month gap between when you submit that application and when you get funded. This could extend to 9 to 12 months, depending on the agency. So it's not like a quick thing. And so you're going to also have to factor in, you're going to have to work on the application and the proposal. So that's going to be additional time on the front end for that. But I do want to kind of reiterate that there are 3 phases. There's a phase 1, a phase 2, and a phase 3. Phase 3 was for STTR. But some agencies do offer a direct path for phase 2s where you can skip phase 1. So you do want to look at those agency websites and information to see which agencies offer that type of kind of like fast track. Because it could be a way for you to move in because phase 2s are larger awards. And then I just really, really, really want to emphasize for you, take advantage of the websites and the resources. This is like a couple of screenshots of the SBIR website. They have really great information, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a support organization like us, whether you're a federal agency. They do have a newsletter that they put out. Also, under the agency resources, they break down each agency. Like you see up there, there's DoD, where they have, you know, a 1-pager, they have like a pitch deck, they have like different information for DARPA. So they have like different breakdowns per agency. The DoD website, if you go to the website itself, has tons of information, has like tutorials, webinars, information sessions, those type of things. So you don't have any excuse. Like all this information is like publicly available to you that you can take advantage of. And then, like I said, you should go to that SBIR.gov website. Also bookmark the agency's SBIR website. They're very robust. They have a lot of information. You can look at the pitch decks, like past solicitations, like identify who's the program manager so you know who they are. So you can look for them in like webinars. But definitely take advantage of those tutorials as well. Like a lot of you guys were asking about like applications and how to do it. They do have like a step-by-step tutorial on how to do it. They have like an introduction to the agency. They have tips on how to research, how to prepare like a really good proposal. So they have like tons of information that's available in addition to on the agency website itself. And then just like you're doing today, you can take advantage of federal, state, and local resources to help you to apply for those particular programs. You know, shameless plug for us, we're an SBA resource partner. That you have SBDCs, you have SCORE, Women's Business Centers, VBOX. Also, we talked about DoD has the Apex Accelerator Program. So there are these federal resource partners that can help you. And then I've talked a couple of times about FAST. But there are state-based or regional programs that do focus on SBIR, STTR. And the big one that I do want to highlight is FAST. And FAST stands for the Federal and State, I don't want to mess with the acronym, Federal and State Technology Partnership Program. And FAST is a longstanding program. I think it was around for like 20 years. The program did expire in about 2004, 2005. And FAST provides funding to organizations to create like a state and a regional program to increase the number of SBIR STTR proposals. They do have a focus on increasing the number of awards from underrepresented areas, which include like rural areas, from women-owned businesses, from socially and economically disadvantaged businesses. But FAST is just a really good program because it does support the ecosystem with outreach, with technical and business assistance and financial support. As I said, the program lapsed between 2004 and like 2010. It was reauthorized in the 2011 reauthorization bill. That was actually a program I worked on with FAST because we were able to adjust the match a little bit for states because like you saw on some of those dashboards, you have California, Massachusetts, Texas, Virginia sneaks in there, New York. States like Florida, we don't have as many awards. Florida was having to put up the same amount of money as Massachusetts and California for the FAST program, like in terms of a match. And so we were able to reduce the match for states that really need more, and also to kind of adjust some of the funding formulas so that states get more funding if they have less applications than if the other states that California and Massachusetts. I'm not hating on those states. Actually, we were able to go to Massachusetts to go visit with businesses that that had got a lot of SBIR, STTR awards, and just find out what's their secret sauce. But it's by far they're the number 1, number 2 states in terms of accessing this program. And you do have other states like Florida, like Virginia, like other things like that, that they really could benefit from additional like outreach, training, and support. So I would shout out the Florida High Tech Corridor. I did include their website up there. They are the FAST awardee for Florida. And they do have a lot of information. Most of it was related to webinars, but they do have technical assistance. They do have business assistance, and they do have a lot of other information as well. So I will go back and put that up there. But if you are looking for assistance, the FAST person for Florida is the Florida High Tech Corridor, and they have some good resources that are available. I also do want to mention the I-Core program. That's the acronym for Innovation Core. I-Core, the largest one is under NSF. They do have additional I-Core programs under Department of Energy, DoD, NIH. Basically, what these do is they support researchers and scientists to evaluate the technological commercial opportunity. The reason why I mentioned these programs is that depending on what the agency is, depending on who the host is, some of these particular I-Core programs, they are open to the community to help businesses that are working on a proposal or to like access SBIR or STTR. You do need to look at the university because some of them are only open for faculty or students from that university, or they're only open for faculty and students from that university under that particular agency like NSF. But some of the other programs are open more to the community where it can be just a small business in the community that wants to work with that particular university that they can come and partner in. And they do have a focus on SBIR, STTR awards. So I would encourage you, if you want to identify like a local NSF program, they do have an I-Core Florida website. That's icoreflorida.org. They do list participating universities, and you can kind of go through each of those particular universities and see how they structure their I-Core program. Like, for example, I know the FIU one is more geared inward, like on faculty and students, and it is obviously focused on NSF. But the couple other ones like FAU, it was a little more open to the community. So it just depends on the agency, depends on the different research institution. So that's back to like where you mentioned about connecting with principal investigators or research institutions. That could be your foot in the door. You could find an opportunity in that respect. And then again, I just want to say shout out to the SBIR.gov resources page. All those links up there, pretty much you get the message. Go to the SBIR.gov website. It's really good. Also would say they do have like a catch-all page that lists all the open solicitations or when stuff is coming up. So you can actually go to that website and you can see like when things are going to come up in the next month, like what's on the street now, what's open. And then you can also look at like what's coming up later in the year. So it is like a good tracker. I know that folks in the past used to have like a spreadsheet and they have to track it and go to the website and refresh. And so now it's all in one place. Also would mention that they do have like a road tour that they've been doing around SBIR. They were here in Miami a couple years ago, that you can actually like meet in person with some of the team. So I would encourage you to check that. I think most of the stuff, there wasn't anything in Florida. There might have been something in Georgia and kind of like the West Coast. But you can look it up because they are doing the road tour again. I did include the FAST website up there. If you want to look, maybe you're from another state or you want to just check it out. The DoD does have a really good website for SBIR, STTR. I included, again, the Florida High Tech Corridor SBIR website, the I-Core Florida website. And then these are three other organizations. Defense Works is located up in kind of Northwest Florida. Obviously has a defense focus, but they are focused on innovation and technology. So it's a great organization to look at, especially if you're going the DoD route. The State Science and Technology Institute is an organization, as it said, it's focused on kind of like state-based programs around science and technology. And then the Small Business Technology Council is another group that's kind of working in the SBIR, STTR arena. And then I don't want to leave without giving you a couple of good webinars that you can look. Obviously, this webinar is going to be the best webinar you're going to see all week, but I do want to give you a couple other ones that were available that we've reviewed and that were pretty good on some of these topics. So the Maryland Apex Accelerator does have a good one on best practices when you're working on a proposal. There's another group, University Lab Partners, that has another one on like having a successful application. And then the Department of Energy did have one that was focused specifically on phase 1 and doing preparation. So I did include that up there as well. where they basically, it's not necessarily a webinar, but it is like a frequently asked questions document. So it was available. And then we can kind of answer some of your questions on that. Would encourage you. The Florida Apex website is up there if we can help you in any way. I also did put our local webpage, which is under SBDC, is sbdc.fiu.edu/apex. You can using that link, you can also get registered to meet with our local consultants. And with that, I'll stop sharing and take a look at the questions.
Guys, we are posting in the chat forms for feedback. So
Okay.
if you guys can click on it, me and Lorna are posting.
Yeah, I would encourage you guys, please fill out the
but
survey. Let me know if it's good information, if there's something I missed. If you didn't like my suit, just give me any kind of feedback on it, because we want to make the information and the topics relevant to what you're doing. So please take a minute to fill out the survey and let us know, because we do want to provide you guys with the quality program. And thanks. Somebody said that Tanya said she liked my suit. Thank you. I don't see any Q&A. So, and I see Ricardo and Lewis, they kind of blew through 28 questions. So that's a lot, guys.
one second, we have a person with the hands raising. I'll open the mic for them.
Or
Okay.
just have them posted in the Q&A.
Okay.
We can answer it there. So I think it was Blas was the one.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, Blas, just type it in the chat so we can answer it for you. While we're waiting, Ricardo or Lewis, any kind of like tips? I know, Ricardo, you work with a couple of companies related to successful applications. Anything you learned from kind of like working on it?
Ricardo said that the qualification rate was like 18%. Was that right, Ricardo?
Yes, that's correct. That's about the success rate for phase one.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I'll take a 1 in 5 chance any day of the week. If I think I have a good idea.
So let me respond to that in two steps. First of all, some of the agencies allow you to have an initial application without doing the full application, so you can find out whether there is interest or not in your concept or idea. And the good thing about that is that if there is, that you get an invitation to submit a full proposal. So you can avoid writing the whole full proposal before you get some idea whether there is interest or not. But the second comment that I wanted to make, and that's on regards to what you just said, Luis, is not about having a good idea. It's about having an idea that meets a need in one of the agencies. So it's not, it's not about, hey, I have a great idea, I need funding from the government. It's about, what are the government needs that can be met by your concept or innovation.
Yeah, I do see some of the questions in the chat about where to start looking for an idea or finding a research partner or application. I would say you should look at the different agency websites to see what they're putting out regarding like their topic areas and their focus areas. That could be a way to look to see if like the idea you have like is married to like what they're looking for. So each of the agencies do put out like topics of interest or like focus areas that you can look at. And then Tanya also asked about jumping to phase 2. You would want to look at the SBIR.gov website and also the agency-specific websites, because that will outline which particular agencies do allow you to skip. I don't think it was very many, but I know it was a couple that would allow you to do that. And then I guess I can look in the Q&A. So Paul was asking the question, better defining the scope for phase 1 as a first-time applicant. Should he contact SBDC or a PI at FIU for assistance? I would say, Lewis and Ricardo, we'd be happy to meet with you, Paul, and basically just talk to you about the idea, talk about like the scope. We'd be happy to like discuss it with you in terms of what you're working on. So I would encourage you, like, if you want to register with us, we're always happy if we can help you. We definitely will help you. And if we can connect you to other resources, we're happy to do that too. And then I do see where somebody mentions SBDC at FAU, but she doesn't see consultants over there to connect directly. If you are located in Broward, FAU does have a team of local consultants, and I do know that they do have an expertise in SBIR STTR. Both they have like a I-Corp program under Tech Runway that the SBDC and the Apex program do partner with. And also they do have some consultants that also have experience, just like our center does as well. So I would say you definitely should reach out to SBDC at FAU or the Apex Accelerator over in Broward if you're looking for help. I'm the director, Sandra, for the FAU program. She has very specific expertise related to technology commercialization, SBIR, STTR. I actually sat in a train the trainer that she was discussing. So I would say shout out my colleagues next door. They do have definitely expertise on that. And then Wilson was asking basically the ideas come from a foreign country that the US has interest in. That you would want to look at the eligibility because it does need to be a US based company, does need to have like US ownership. That is really strict because you're accessing federal research and development dollars. So there's not a lot of wiggle room on that, but you would want to look that up. And then I see Blas was looking for an email address. I guess I'll put my email address in there, but if you wanted Lewis's email address, if Lewis was very enlightening for you, then I'm happy to share his email address too, but I did give you mine. And then man, we had a lot of good questions. So any other questions you guys see?
We have one more question.
Okay.
And Blas still has his hand up.
We have a local company that's delivering some services to DoD, but if you're using a foreign R&D researcher, I think Lewis, for that one, that we might want to talk to him about that, or that might be something we need to look into a little more.
Yeah, someone was asking where the idea came from. The idea can come from anywhere, but the actual application needs to come from a U.S. company with, some other a bunch of other requirements. It's going to be very specific to every area that you're looking at, agency, what your innovative offering is. We'll walk you through it as best we can. We're not just one person. We're a big organization. We'll find the answers for you.
Yeah. The thing I would flag for the person asking the question was that they mentioned the researcher is overseas. And that would be something that they might flag or they might want to review because obviously they want the US company, they want US team. They don't want some tied overseas country. It could even be like a country like Australia or something, but they might not want that particular thing. So that might be something they would look into.
I can answer that. The research has to be conducted in the US.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that was me dancing around it. Thank you for the direct answer, Ricardo. And then I know a couple of you guys did mention about, will this recording be available? We will post the recording on our YouTube page. So we will send the link to everybody that attended today. So we're happy to send it to you so that you can watch it like on your own time. And just really hope that this presentation was helpful. We got a great response on this, so we will be doing more webinars on SBIR, STTR, and other types of programs like this. So would encourage you guys to fill out the survey again, to give us some feedback. And just thank you again to the SBA. Thank you to Lewis. Thank you to Ricardo for being here, because we had like a rock star panel. Made my job easy.
Thank you.
So have a great week, guys.
Bye, guys. Excellent webinar. Thank you.